Now that is unexpected. Non-farm employment change data, the data has come out to be 142k. That huge drop has given a huge momentum on DXY to drop, and this week we have seen that it has dropped back to the support level. We can expect in the upcoming week after this NFP, we might see a potential change in the direction of the trend. So let's see in this new week, in the upcoming week after NFP, how the market might be evolving. I will be doing a complete multi-time frame analysis of all the instruments that on the list, including euro dollar, British pound, US dollar, GBP, JPY, dollar yen, gold, Aussie dollar, dollar CAD, and DXY. Now, before I do the full analysis, traders, make sure that you give a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. So without further delay, let's begin this week's weekly Forex forecast. Okay, traders, so let's begin with first of all DXY, and then we will be looking at one by one based on how DXY might be reacting, looking at the monthly chart to see overall picture in the market on DXY. What we can see that DXY from the monthly, after the monthly open, after initial bounce, we can see that the price had a strong breakdown from this level. And this is the monthly candle. We have seen that there were back-to-back 2 months of bearish move, followed by this month after initial bounce. We can see the price action is bearish so far. Now this week, what I think that if the market bouncing back to the upside to this monthly resistance, we might see another wave of drop on DXY. If we look at the weekly chart, what we can see that from the weekly, this is the weekly candle with a half body, half wick at the bottom. And I think that if the market managed to bounce back to the resistance, grabbing the liquidity, we might see the price will try to fill that long wick. As we have seen that after previous weekly bullish move, these weeks, the sellers were in control in this market. We might see either the weekly high to be broken and then to drop, or we might see that the price is retesting this weekly resistance and then coming back down to fill that wick, as in this area there is a very important level of support. Dropping down to the daily chart to see how the price is doing, we can see that there is a daily doji formation. Now this daily candle on DXY is quite significant. As you can see, after retesting this zone where there is a daily 20 EMA, we have seen the drop with NFP. This candle has formed. Now, if we analyze this daily candle, we can see that it has broken this high, which in fact a liquidity grab in this falling market. And also we can see that the price still didn't retest this zone where there is a wickless candle. As the price moves from liquidity to liquidity, what I think that DXY might going up again to grab more liquidity and then dropping down back to this support level. Now, how the price in the beginning of the week doing will determine how the price move throughout the week. If we see that in the beginning of the week a bounce on DXY, then we can expect to range in that zone throughout the week. If we see that with the market open, the price dropping down, what I think that we might see again a bounce. So this week the probability for DXY to range in this support and resistance is high probability. So if we look at the intraday perspective, we can see that in this lower time frame DXY, we have seen there was a very strong bounce here, forming an inverted head and shoulder. There was a breakout, pullback, and the market was trending, followed by we have seen a gap open form that again head and shoulder, had a breakdown. At this point, what I think that this week, if the price drop down to the support, we might see potential bounce to the resistance. Instead, if we see the bulls again pushing the price high in this gap open where there is a high liquidity, we might see DXY is coming back down. So this week the wave could be in that way on DXY. So based on that, let's see what kind of opportunity we might find in euro dollar. Starting with this euro dollar, looking at the monthly chart to see overall picture in the market. Now from the monthly, we can see that euro dollar previous months has formed this bullish candle, which is a very strong bull candle with a long wick at the top. And this month we can see the price initially has got a bounce to the upside, and with that bounce currently the price, we can see after retesting this monthly high, it started to drop again. This is the monthly support so far. And if we look at the weekly chart, we can see that from the weekly perspective, there is a weekly bearish candle followed by a long wick candle here from the weekly, which in fact forming series of lower high in that area on euro dollar. And I think that this week with that drop, we might see initial drop like the DXY. We are expecting it to initially bounce. We might see that euro dollar breaking below, and from that zone we can expect for the market to go back up to fill that week at the top from the weekly perspective. If we look at the daily chart, we can see that from the daily perspective, there is a daily bearish candle on euro dollar. Now this bearish candle might drop that price back to this support level, and this is the daily support where there is a high liquidity. And in this zone, what I think that euro dollar may initially break below to grab liquidity, and then we can expect it to bounce back up to the resistance line again. Now looking at lower time frame price action, we can see that from the 4-hour perspective, there is a strong drop here on euro dollar from the 4-hour with a narrow green candle formation. And there is a very strong drop followed by very weak response from the buyers that might lead euro dollar to drop back down again to this support level, and that could be the potential wave on euro dollar. And we might see also a potential range as we are expecting to range on DXY. If we look at the GBPUSD to see how the market is evolving, we can see that from the monthly GBPUSD, like the euro dollar, we have seen that after retesting this monthly high, it has a very strong rejection. Now that rejection signaling potential further drop on GBPUSD. As we have seen the higher monthly high is tested, we could see now a potential deeper pullback on GBPUSD. If we look at the weekly chart, we can see that from the weekly also there is a long wick candle formation. This is a weekly doji that has tested the previous weekly high from that long wick doji, and I think that this week, as it is currently falling market, we might see further drop before moving up again to fill that long wick at the top. If we look at the daily chart on GBPUSD, like the euro dollar, we see that GBPUSD is highly bearish at the moment with a very strong bearish engulf around the daily, which might lead the next candle to form to the downside. And at the same time, we see the price is approaching this daily 20 EMA, which is an important area of value, along with this daily doji, which is also an important support level. And this week we might see initial drop like the euro dollar, and then to bounce back up to fill that long wick at the top. If we look at the intraday perspective, we can see a very narrow doji formation. From the 4-hour perspective, there is a very strong bearish pressure followed by narrow doji, which is a sign that the very weaker response from the buyers, we might see further downside on GBPUSD on the lower time frame. And as you can see, this is an important level of support. There is a bounce, also there is a support, and at the same time from the same support, it's forming series of lower high, which might lead GBPUSD to break below and then to bounce back up to fill that long wick at the top. So this could be the wave on GBPUSD for the upcoming week. And as like the euro dollar and DXY, we might see even this instrument is also ranging in that area. Now let's look at AUD USD, and also we'll be looking at gold. afterwards. So looking at AUD/USD, looking at the monthly chart, we can see that from the monthly previous month, a bullish candle formation on AUD/USD. Now this month we can see that the price formed series of lower high followed by with a very strong bearish pressure on the monthly on AUD/USD, expecting it to come down further to this support level in the upcoming week as well. So looking at the weekly chart on AUD/USD, we can see that weekly bearish candle. Now this bearish candle on AUD/USD looks strongly bearish than euro dollar and GBPUSD, and we might see now the price may try to drop further in this instrument to fill some of this zone here. If we look at the daily chart on AUD/USD, we can see that there is a head and shoulder formation. So we saw there was a long consolidation which formed this head, left shoulder and the right shoulder, and with a daily bearish engulfer, and we might see now the price to come down further to this support level on AUD/USD where there is a daily doji formation. If we look at the 4-hour perspective, we can see a long bearish engulfer followed by very narrow doji formation on AUD/USD. We can expect a deeper pullback, or we can even could see the drop here as the last session formed a very narrow doji that might lead this price to break below to this support before it bounced back to the upside. So this could be also the wave on AUD/USD to break even to this support level, as there is a long week candle before it bounced back up. So this could be the wave on AUD/USD in the upcoming week. Now let's see gold, how the price is doing. Looking at the monthly chart on gold, we can see that from the monthly perspective on gold, this is the monthly bullish candle on gold, and this month we can see the price initially tested the high and then has got a very strong rejection. Currently the price at monthly resistance line. Now let's see how the price is evolving on the weekly perspective. Now from the weekly, we can see that the price tested this weekly high, and after retesting this weekly high, after testing the weekly high, we saw that there was a rejection from a doji from the weekly perspective. Now if we look at the trend perspective on this instrument, we can see that it's a long-term bull market, but at the same time we can see back-to-back two red candle formation. Now this weekly doji is quite significant. If we look at the high, we can see that it had just broken that weekly resistance and then has got a rejection from a long wick at the bottom. I think that this week we might see gold feeling some of this bottom shadow of this weekly doji. As the price has tested the weekly high, it grabbed the liquidity. We can expect it to come back down here. Now dropping down to the daily chart, what we can see that from the daily, the price tested the high from a long wick candle. Now at the same time, we see the price tested the lower shadow of this previous daily candle, and also the price tested the daily 20 EMA. And if we again go back to the weekly to see how the price is evolving, this is the weekly support. We saw that series of higher low formation. I think the price might try to test the weekly low and then could get bounced from this level, and that could be even the range for this weekly perspective for gold. Now dropping down to the 4-hour to see how the price is evolving, we can see that there is a bearish engulfer. It's a strong breakdown during the NFP on gold, followed by a narrow green candle formation. And I think that with the new upcoming opening weekly, we might see that the price again going back up to retest this resistance, and the price might range in that zone for extended period of time. Now if we look at the 1-hour chart to see a little more clearer picture, we can see that there is a huge breakdown followed by a pullback. Now this price action, what we can see, there is a weekly, this is the 1 hour candle with a liquidity grab breaking this 1 hour low, which is basically signaling potential further bullish momentum on this lower time frame. And I think that we might see, with the market open, the price to continue to move back to the upside, and that could lead this price back to this neckline of this previous support turning resistance, as there is an imbalance in that zone. So we might see in this week initially bouncing to the upside on gold, and then we can expect it to drop back down to range in that area. So with the market open tomorrow, we will keep eye on potential bullish setup if we see lower time frame price action confirmation on gold yen pairs. Looking at GBPJPY, starting with the monthly chart to see how the price is doing. Now looking at the monthly on GBPJPY, what we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is the previous monthly doji, and we have seen that the price after break of this monthly high, there is a very sharp rejection, and as the price is coming to fill that monthly week here, expecting on GJ for the market to drop down again to the support level to fill that week, or even to create a new lower low. If we look at the weekly perspective on GJ, we can see that from the weekly, this is the weekly bearish engulfer. The price has broken this high and form a long bearish engulfer, and with that bearish engulfer, expecting for this market to retest this neckline and then to drop back down again. And the price might remain this week as well potentially bearish, as we have seen a very sharp rejection. We have seen a strong drop followed by a pullback, and we can expect for the market to drop down again. Now if we look at the daily chart, we can see that there is a head and shoulder formation on the daily, and that head and shoulder has given GBPJPY to break below further to the downside. And this is the daily doji here, which is a support turning resistance. And what we can expect on GJ for the market to retest and then to drop back down again to create a new lower low. Now if we look at the intraday perspective, what we can see that the market is forming series of lower high, and this is a downtrending market structure, expecting it to come back up for another retest and then to drop back down again. So any pullback to the upside on GBPJPY can give potential selling opportunity in this instrument. Now let's look at dollar yen. Let's see what kind of price action it has formed. Looking at the monthly chart on dollar yen, we can see that from the monthly perspective, this is the monthly bearish engulfer followed by a monthly candle with a long wick at the bottom. And as a result, this month we have seen that after initial pullback, the price is coming down to fill that monthly week, and we can expect for the market to drop down further as the price is approaching this support. We have seen a bounce. We might see now at least to retest 140.80 or below before it bounce back up or dropping down further. If we look at the weekly chart, we can see that there is a weekly, this is a liquidity candle, a drop followed by another long bearish engulfer from the weekly on dollar yen. And what we can expect in this market for deeper pullback and then trend continuation, as we can see that the price is forming series of lower high and lower low. Now if we look at the daily chart on dollar yen, we can see that there is a daily head and shoulder formation. As expected, we have seen that pullback to the upside, and we can see the market is now breaking below. So on the lower time frame, any pullback to the upside can give potential for the downside on dollar yen. So looking at the intraday perspective, we can see that there are quite a few long wick candles in that area, which is with the NFP, and every time the market is going to the upside, forming series of lower high, which is a sign that the sellers are active in this market. So any pull back to the upside on dollar yen, we can look for potential selling opportunities. So this could be the potential wave on dollar yen in the upcoming week. And as soon as we will find suitable, and we will be looking for trading opportunity along this area. Hope the traders enjoyed this weekly Forex forecast. If you enjoy, make sure you give a thumbs up, and also don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done yet. So with that said, thank you, and I'll see you soon in my next analysis.